It is always a great honor to have you join us on the Constitution, a television broadcast series that focuses on the socio-economic political setting of the Nigerian state. Before we bring you the continuation of what we started with last week on our discourse on the program, we want to bring you a showcase of a production, or rather a showcase of a documentary production as a food for thought. This is coming against the background of a public opinion from the perspective that there is the need for Nigerians at this time, against the forthcoming 2019 elections, for Nigerians to very sincerely choose leaders who, of course, will uphold the dignity and pride, values and virtues of the Nigerian state. More importantly so, that at a time like this, we need political leaders and political parties, of course, who will be independent of foreign control, and more importantly, those who will not undermine and underestimate the independence, the integrity, the nobility and pride of Nigeria in the global world of nations. And this is why we want to take a look at this special documentary, which of course centers on the need that do we really need to ask foreign countries to get their permission to do what we shall do as a nation. And the question is, where then lies the independence? Where then lies the integrity, the pride, and of course, the values and virtues of our identity as a people in the global world of the International Committee of Nations? These and more are some of the things we'll be looking at in the course of this showcase of this documentary, which of course speaks volume of a lot of things from different perspectives. But then let's just ask you to sit back and take a look at these, and together we hope that we'll be able to get it right and make Nigeria and bring Nigeria back again to its place of pride and glory in the Committee of Nations.
No love is all we need.
That Nigeria is a land of milk and honey, a land of great opportunities and dreams, a land of achievements and greatness, a land of nobility and dignity, and indeed a pride of Africa, blessed with abundant natural resources and high potential capacities in human development, speaks volume of Nigeria's global recognition in the Committee of Nations. However, where lies our pride, our dignity, our greatness, and our dream as the giant of Africa today? What indeed has become the label of our heroes past? Is Nigeria where it should be today? A look at this video production package, courtesy of our heritage production team, a proudly Nigerian establishment, in a reflection and a flashback of what took place over the years, precisely on 25th July 1961, unequivocally captures the true representation and identity of the place, the pride, the dignity, the greatness of Nigeria in Africa and beyond, respectfully sought after by America and her allies years back in recognition of Nigeria's place in the global world. The official visit of Alhaji Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa to Washington in 1961 on the invitation of the then U.S. President John Fitzgerald Kennedy, accompanied by other top government functionaries at the time to the U.S., was an international endorsement and recognition of Nigeria's strength, place, pride, and dignity as the face of Africa to the global world.
Mr. Prime Minister, I am honored to welcome you and the distinguished members of your party to the United States. This welcome is only the beginning. You will find as you travel through this country a very deep and genuine interest in the exciting developments which are taking place in your country and in Africa today.
I am very pleased to be with you in Washington today, and I look forward to the week which we are to spend among you. I have no doubt that the American people will receive us with all the kindness that they all receive strangers. This is just a brief reply to your very warm address of welcome. Thank you.
Between then and now, what has suddenly become of Nigeria? Where are we today? Should Nigeria be where we are today after 58 years of independence? Where did we get it wrong? Is it too late for Nigeria to retrace and redirect her pride and dignity as a great country? Definitely not. But then, where lies our pride and dignity today? Well, that's just it on our showcase of the documentary production that was brought to you there for you to see where the place and pride of Nigeria was yesteryears. And the question again is, shouldn't we bring back the glory of Nigeria as a country? And if we must, then we need leaders. We need men of integrity and honor that must and that will protect the independence of our great country and bring back the lost glory and restore us back to that place of reckoning of international recognition as indeed a true giant of Africa. Let's now sit back and bring you the continuation of what we started with last week.
Are you worried and concerned about your educational development and interested in building a sound academic education and professional career in accountancy? ACES Institute of Accountancy and Management here offers you an opportunity for a new beginning. At ACES Institute of Accountancy and Management, accounting professional students and secondary school leavers can take advantage of our numerous programs to qualify as professional accountants and specialists in different fields of learning. With our conducive learning environment, competent and experienced professional lecturers to see students through their examinations successfully. Classes for secondary school leavers starts in January 2019, while registration is ongoing for foundation and accountancy programs and other professional examination courses. For inquiries and registration, you can visit our corporate office at Niger House, UAC Building, 11th floor, 3-5 Odunlami Street, off Marina, Lagos, or email at icanedu@aces.org. or our website at www.acersiam.org or call 0703 086 8455 0817 079 0833.
No love is all we need.
If you want to begin to cure unemployment or to begin to create employment generation, you have to look at various things. You have to look at education, because a lot of the people who are unemployed, part of the reason is substandard education. I'm not talking about university education now. I'm talking about some of the things that we mentioned. Training,
that's right.
Skills acquisition,
That's
because
right.
we don't all have to go to university.
No, we don't know, but that's an error here.
In other parts
am
of
I
the
correct?
world.
That's an error here.
Yes,
People
absolutely.
look at it now that must you go to school when you can do this and you
There are so many
excel?
things you can do.
You even find many graduates now not using that which
It's
they have
not people,
studied.
it's our government. It's our government.
When you say our government,
Yes, because they will be asking you your qualification. Are you a degree holder? Are you this? Are you that? Somebody who has gone to technical college, why can't you survive?
No.
I think if you just to take us back to that section 24 says duties of the citizen in the Constitution. The question, how compliant are we as citizens? I think that we all are to blame. For this.
We should hold ourselves responsible for accountable.
We have also undervalued skills. The carpenter, the plumber, the electrician. Many of these people didn't go to university. And in other parts of the world, they are actually better paid than those who went to university.
That's just it.
So our values,
they are better paid.
Our values are upside down. You know, those people who do what you call menial work, you know, builders, artisans, the kind of work they're doing is actually a lot more valuable. The brain work that we do in the offices and so on is just a part of it. The people who actually build and create are those people. They're the people who make things work. Your house cannot work well without good plumbing or electricity. Okay? So when we talk about employment generation, we need to go back and take a good look at our value system. It's a long journey. It's a very long journey, but it's one that we need to go back to. We talked just now about moral instruction and so on and so forth. In the schools, they used to teach people how to cook, for example.
Home economics.
I don't know whether any of those things are done anymore. So,
social studies is no more there again.
So there's so much that we need to go back to if we really want to make a success of economic development, because all these things feed into economic development. There's the issue of skills acquisition. There's when do you even start teaching people about do-it-yourself? In other parts of the world, you have the opportunity.
Yes,
you can
the UK,
you can choose
to
do carpentry,
or employ.
you can choose to do electrical work, you can choose to do building work. There are so many things. At the age of 16, for example, in the United Kingdom, you don't have to go on to university. You can actually leave your parents' home and go into apprenticeship. We used to have all those things here.
We used to.
Yesteryears.
That
was yesteryears.
We used to have technical colleges.
There are some people that are doing things like that. And that is where you can then link it to entrepreneurship. Because entrepreneurship is simply about learning how to run a business, how to create a business. I look at what the Tony Elumelu Foundation is doing. Whether you like him or you don't like him, what he's doing is the right thing. Trying to empower as many young people as possible. Because that is actually the only way we will get out of our economic problems. If every young person can actually create a business where he employs or she employs 2, 3, 4 people, unemployment will actually begin to diminish. Today we have 9.7 according to the National Bureau of Statistics. But I suspect that it's a lot more of that.
For them to have come up with this,
for them to say
the government will never come up with exact figures.
You can be sure that we have perhaps twice that
what
number.
we have there.
And
but
if you have twice that number,
9.7 is they are talking about the people who are employable.
Yes, exactly. That's why I said, the age for employable is that, this, and then you're talking about those who are educated enough, in quotes, to be employable. So there's when we talk about employment generation, it's a huge myriad of things that need to be done, from education to skills acquisition to training to even things such as our National Youth Service.
That's right.
The
youth were even saying that instead of the NYSC scheme, it can be the NY National Youth Employment Scheme. Entrepreneurship scheme, rather.
Absolutely.
Excuse me.
Absolutely.
I think that's just it.
Absolutely.
Whereas instead of this 1 year service thing, use that 1 year to acquire one skill or the other, and you'll be better for it, and the economy will be better for it.
For us, in fact, I think for us that we should actually focus on that NYES, as we call it, as a major thing that we can contribute.
No love is all we need.
The National Youth Service Scheme, as it is today, is really not working.
No, it has been.
We can describe it in any way we like, but it's
not.
It's dehumanizing.
It has lost the essence of why it was created.
If you go to the camps, if you go to the NYSC camps, and you see how our young people are living in those camps, the places where they sleep, the places where they bath, the places where they toilet, it is back to where it was in 1973 or 74 when the NYSC started. There hasn't been any progress. And
yes,
the young people themselves, If you interview the young people themselves and ask them what they think about the NYSC scheme, they will tell you. I mean, we all have children
but we know there are certain funds allocated to actually improve the...
If you look at those funds, to be quite honest, they're also not really enough. That's the truth of the matter. So, whether the funds are allocated or not is one thing. Whether they're enough
but
is
the
another
situation
thing.
report is
the
what
situation
we're
is very bad.
Let me throw some
very,
light.
very bad.
I used to work with the NYSC as an accountant.
Yes.
The NYSC orientation camp is the responsibility of the state government.
The orientation camp?
Yes.
Not the NYSC.
It used to be that I would be required to write what we call request for funds addressed to the governor of the state. And then we can tell him we need, after doing our survey, sending the plumbers, electricians, everything to the camp. Maybe we say we need 100,000, let us just say.
For example.
And then we now get 35,000.
Exactly.
That's what I'm talking about. You are limited to...
You do what you can.
The government that cannot pay salaries. And you are asking them to sponsor NYSC.
You understand?
So basically the National Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme will be the solution.
It's something that needs to be worked out, obviously, the details.
And it will be
I believe that it will be a big solution provider to unemployment. Because what you'll be doing is not just to take people and put them in a camp and then look for where to place them. You will be teaching them skills in order to be able to use to create employment for themselves
in the future.
That's the objective.
Okay? And it will
the NYSC is just is like a stopgap, between university and going to work. That's how it's operating right now.
Right.
It's not. It doesn't seem to be pushing people to try to create employment.
Giving jobs to them
because they don't have them.
Because
they don't even trust them.
They don't even trust them.
There's even no
the
job.
skills are not there.
I remember working in one of the southeastern states in the NYSC, and you will see that people will come and ask you for youth corpers, not because they want to give them job, but as a prestige status symbol. They will say, "Oh, this is my youth corper." But, sir, what assignment do you have for him or her? Nothing. And that was almost 30 years ago.
Yes.
I'm sure it's worse now.
Today.
I'm sure it is worse.
So the solution is for us to look at it and review the NYSC scheme
Absolutely.
and make it more of a national youth
and make it fit with our economic development plans.
Yeah, exactly.
Let it be commensurate with what we actually want to do with economic development.
I know standing before me, we have a cameraman ahead of us now looking at us.
Yes.
He has a master's degree, but he's here, but proudly though doing what he's doing best. He's a unionist.
There's dignity of labor.
The chairman of NUJ Lagos Television Chapel. But it's a pride to say that he has master's degree.
Yes.
And that is just a way of looking at skills acquisition.
What is important with the NYSC, a lot of people have been advocating that NYSC should be scrapped.
Absolutely.
But because of personal interests of those who are administering NYSC, they don't want it scrapped. But we have to think bigger than ourselves. We have to think about our country. If we take on the National Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme, we will be bridging the gap between the old and the young. Because Nigeria cannot afford to have any age gap, with regards to entrepreneurship because of employment. You remember what happened to farming in the olden days. When our parents are going to farm, they take us along. We see what they are doing. But the moment the military came in, everything dropped. And now we are suffering. Because I remember while I was even in primary school, they taught us how to do farming. We all had our own
plot.
We had our own plot, and it was very interesting. But how many children are taught how to even do farming now? So skill acquisition is important, and we cannot have employment if people are not educated. Education is not by getting a university degree. No, education from home, the society, and the skill development is important. In so many European countries today, even if you want to be a bricklayer, you will go to school of bricklaying. If you want to be a carpenter, you go to school, and then they will attach you to entrepreneurs. You know,
who will give you the
who
practical
will give
training.
You the practical training.
It exists in West Africa. You know, not Nigeria now, but you know, Togo and Ghana.
And that's why we always go for this Togolese.
Absolutely.
Now that is changing. Now that is changing because the artisans in Nigeria now are now protesting that you can't leave us here and start going to bring.
But they have to acquire skills.
And they've improved now. That's why the vocational school here.
There's one in Bagada, I think.
There's one here at Onagidingbi.
Yes.
There's in Bagada. They are all harnessing all of these opportunities
mechanics
now.
and so on.
Even Samsung is even helping.
Yes.
A lot of them are the vocational training center there.
Absolutely.
To,
progress is being made. It's just that more needs to be done.
More needs to be done.
I just want to mention in conclusion that we don't have problem of unemployment in Nigeria. It is because we don't have strategic planning for employment. If we have strategic planning for employment, look, for example, the Ambode administration, the governor, recently established this
Lagos State
Employment Trust.
No, that is even one. This
Wealth Creation and Employment?
No, the one that is looking after building of houses. You know, after
LAPSCA.
What I'm going to advise is that commission should engage, you know, skilled people. They shouldn't say they are the one going to do it. They should engage skilled people, electricians, builders, water, you know, plumbers, and so on. Let them go from house to house and examine all those things that they have been set up to do. Thereby, we are creating employment. The landlords must be told that certain expenses they have to bear. It's not government that has to bear that expense because you are collecting rent.
That's right.
And if you are given a certification from government that your house is fit for habitation, that is a certificate that you can carry anywhere. Even when you want to take loan and
that you want to guarantee.
You want to use that building for collateral, and they will ask you, do you have government certification?
That's right.
So
it's a plus.
People will pay for services to confirm that what my plumber has done is good, what my electrician has done is good. So this is a way of generating employment. That is why I said we need to have strategic. We don't have problem of unemployment.
It's just strategic approach.
It's just the strategic approach.
We
have a lot of professionals, you know, engineering, accounting, so many. Government should use them more. They are supposed to train people for national development, for economic development. They should call these professionals. You know, as people are coming out of the university, we want them to be trained
in their specialized area of discipline.
Areas. You know, so by the time they are out there in the society, they can fit into employment.
Okay,
but
we must go now.
What we have at the moment is that people go into employment without the skill. And how do you want an employer to start training you
when
it does not have the fund for training?
No, it's not. It can't work like that. It cannot. It cannot. Your submission, sir. I mean, we've had Mr. Mbagu, Mrs.
I'll put it
Shai
this
has
way,
said
that,
your own submission.
I think Chief Awolowo said that man is the beneficiary of the works of the hands of man. What I'm trying to say is that if we want to move Nigeria forward economically, human capital development is very key. We also need to study because the economy and technology is changing. People must have appropriate skills. We are talking about digital economy now, or what they call the new economy. A lot of people have university degrees, inappropriate education to the realities on ground. I tell people, they come to me, they say they are looking for a job. I say, no, I can't help you to look for a job. Let's talk about career. Then I can plan with you. I can say, do you want to do ICANN? Then we plan towards it. Do you want to go into computers?
Printing or whatever.
Or printing, then we can go into it. But for me to look for a job for you, sorry, I won't do that. And I think people need to understand that.
We need to make that
so
distinction.
that we read, even parents also need to read.
Yeah, exactly.
Read and
You
say, well, this is the thing that is happening. This is the new technology. They call it the new economy. your skills must be appropriate.
Yes.
You know. Now, if you got, let us say, a PhD in, permit me to use the word irrelevant, inappropriate area, you also must be ready to go back
and retrain
yourself. People are doing it. Otherwise, we are going to get to a point where, because some people, the baby boomers, people who are born between 1945 and 1965, these people had sound education. These are people of our age group. They are going gradually. The people, the millennials, in the X generations that are replacing them, many of them do not have the kind of skills that our generation had. Many of us are being recalled back into industry, into the various trades now. America is doing it. They are bringing people back, people in their 60s, in their 50s, in their 70s back.
To impact.
Because nobody,
the gap is there.
Yeah. So we need to understand that if we are going to profit from the economy, we also must be prepared to develop. We are looking at, I understand there are about 13.5 million school-age kids roaming about the streets in Nigeria. That is chaos. When they become older, 30 million unemployed people, unemployable people, and you have these rascally politicians, or they just give them some little money. I don't know what will happen. Guns.
Well, we want to thank you, gentlemen, Madam too, for your contributions today. This is where we'll call it a day. It's been such an exhaustive discourse on the subject matter of concern. Mr. Ikemefunabago, thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
It's always a delight having you around. And of course, Madam Babintina Shai, we thank you so very much. Always there, and I keep asking where you have the strength, even to do research work. At 70 plus, you are still waxing intellectually strong all the time. It's a challenge to me anyway. That's just my own confession.
I told you that whatever you have the mind, the flair to do, you will always find time, even if there is no time.
That's true. I am challenged with you, I see myself challenged every day, and that is a change in my own perception, the way I've done things. And of course, my veteran journalist, a very senior colleague, thank you very much. We'll always count on you by the grace of God, and we pray that all of these we are doing will be blessed by God to make the difference, to reach what we wanted to achieve for the betterment and growth of this country.
Let me just round up and say that we must progress from NYSC to NYES.
Yes, thank you very much. That is your submission too.
Correct.
It's your submission
Correct.
And I support, of course.
Okay, I also concur because I believe it will change the psyche and make a difference in everything we do. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Well, viewers at home, that's it for today on the Constitution. We're just trying all we can to make things blend, to make things work. Call government to their responsibility. Call the legislatures to see what they're supposed to do to better the lots of the people. And of course, call the people to see what they should also do to support the government, support the legislature, so that when we are all on the same page, the difference will be made and Nigeria will be better for everybody. We thank you for today. We'll see you again another time.
No love is all we need.
Are you worried and concerned about your educational development and interested in building a sound academic education and professional career in accountancy? ACES Institute of Accountancy and Management here offers you an opportunity for a new beginning. At ACES Institute of Accountancy and Management, accounting professional students and secondary school leavers can take advantage of our numerous programs to qualify as professional accountants and specialists in different fields of learning. With our conducive learning environment, competent and experienced professional lecturers to see students through their examinations successfully. Classes for secondary school leavers starts in January 2019, while registration is ongoing for foundation and accountancy programs and other professional examination courses. For inquiries and registration, you can visit our corporate office at Niger House, UAC Building, 11th floor, 3 to 5 Odunlami Street, off Marina, Lagos, or email at icanedu@aces.org. or our website at www.acersiam.org or call 0703 086 8455 0817 079 0833.
No love is all we need.
Welcome and thanks again for staying with us. And it's still the Constitution coming to you on the platform of the International Center for Tax Research and Development. This is the youth wing where, of course, the youth are given a voice of say on the policies, programs and action plans of government as it affects the youth socially, politically, economically and lots more. In other words, the youth, as provided for in the Constitution of this great country, must have a say as to how they are governed, because we're talking about democratic values, democratic systems, democratic virtues, and all that has to do with people-oriented policies of governance, and the youth are not left out in this regard. Hence this youth segment where, you know, as we already do, we have the youths come to talk about how policies of government affects and what can be done in changing the face of government and administration in the Nigeria of today. Welcome and thank you for joining me. We'll be introducing my guest here as it is. I have here, and of course it's not a new face, it's a familiar face here, and it's just good to always see that youths are really available, you know, making themselves readily available for leadership positions in times like this. My first guest that I will be introducing to discuss this is Aduloju Oluwatufumi Isaac. He is a 400 level student of the University of Lagos and a law student of the University of Lagos. He is a public speaker, a political commentator, and a highly passionate individual with unparalleled devotion to excellence and lots more. Isaac has a particular interest in taxation, human rights, and alternative dispute resolution. It's a great honor to have you back again, Aduloju Oluwatufumi Isaac.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being there as always. And seated close to me is Akimade David Ayodiji. He was the former president of the University of Lagos Debate Society, and he's a graduate of Systems Engineering, University of Lagos, and founder of Political Polls and Unilag. I want to say a big welcome to you, young man. When we see resourceful entrepreneurs or young entrepreneurs like you are doing great, speaks volume of the brighter future for this great country. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Now, gentlemen, we are looking at tertiary education curriculum in Nigeria as a topic today, and we're looking at accessing the impact on the society. Let me start with you, Aduloju Oluwatufumi Isaac. Tertiary education is that which, of course, culminates when what you have started from the foundational level to the secondary, to that climax of what becomes or turns you to become a man of your own. And when we look at that, the essence of curriculum in this context is very necessary when we need to look at how well that has impacted in you as a student and graduating to become whatever you want to become in your discipline or area of study in life. So how well would you say that when we access the impact of tertiary curriculum or education, so to speak, would you say that this has made some mark in the society of today in Nigeria?
Oh, yes, I would agree that the tertiary education curriculum has made some mark. However, I must be quick to say that we still have a very long way to go. And a very typical example, which is quite political in nature, is the statistics released by INEC on voters' education, on voters' registration rather. We have about 180 million Nigerians, and we have just a little bit over 80 million people that are registered voters in the country. So that shows that something is missing, which is voters' education, which is civic education. And I think it's not just the primary school curriculum that has failed us, the secondary school curriculum has failed us, and the tertiary education curriculum has failed us. However, I must be quick to appreciate the fact that we have about 22% of the registered voters that are actually students. So I want to believe that since that percent actually falls within the university, considering the fact that you have to be between the age of 18 and above to be in the university, and you have to be in the same age bracket to register to vote. So I would like to say that yes, there's been a bit of improvement based on that. However, I must say there's still a long way to go.
Well, you said there's still a long way to go. I wouldn't know what would be Akimade David Ayodeji's response to that.
I mean, by and large, I agree with what he has said. But I would like to also point out that for the many errors that we find with tertiary education, it has actually done a lot in sharpening the finest tool that this country has, which is its youth. And if you look at how much has been accomplished by the educational system, given the deficiency it faces, they are understaffed, they are underfunded, but still they still turn out graduates who are able to make significant mark in the creative industry, in the arts, and especially in science, engineering, programming. You know, we had the CEO of Facebook come over to Nigeria. And most of them
Zuckerberg.
Exactly, these people that came to meet were all creative intellectuals produced by tertiary educational system, the same one that, you know, seems quite efficient. So I believe if we can fix the, you know, if we can replicate rather the things that work currently, we'll probably have a system that we can all be proud of in some years to come.
So then when we say that we need to do more in this regard, would it be out of place if I must also ask you?
No, it won't be out of place. We actually really need to do more. And when we're talking about doing more, it has to do with the implementation, it has to do with a little bit of review of the policy, and it has to do with streamlining the policy to the realities of our society. There are some outdated things in our curriculum that don't meet the reality of the society, and that does not prepare for the future, because basically we are not living for today, we are living for the future. So we have to get our educational curriculum to actually prepare us for today and also for the future.
It's a global world, we say now today, not what it used to be, where we talk about those other approaches to doing things. And if someone will say, if we must meet with global demand, and if the youths of today must also be technologically driven, then some will say that the curriculum education in Nigeria in tertiary institutions is still far from reality. How true that is?
Well, this is very true. This is very true. But the key property of this new global trend is the fact that it connects more people. So most of us have phones, most of us have access to the internet. Information is not hidden in cocoons anymore. It's much widespread. So the only thing we need to add to what we have currently now is for the institutions to give a level of free-handedness to the students. And this is very predominant if you look at disciplines such as the arts. So you notice how the lecturers bring the age-old principles of how arts are meant to be operated, and then they give leeway for the students to come up with new ideas based on what they've been taught. So I believe if we can combine the power of technology, you know, the internet, how it has interconnected people, interconnected ideas, with the current state of the educational system, which is all of the history and all of the age-old knowledge that it has acquired. If we can mix these two together, if the lecturers can allow friendliness to the students and the students can look into old ideas, we can actually bring about, you know, a synergy of both processes, as it were. So we are just one step away from that. If we could just connect, and you see this happen also in engineering too. You know, these lecturers give the students to go and create a program around this kind of problem using these principles we've taught you in class. This kind of back and forth.
But some school of thought, I think I just leave this open to us for discuss. Some school of thought are of the view that even as we speak, that the tertiary education curriculum so far in this country is good enough to make any meaningful mark in terms of accessing the impacts in the lives of students today. That's the problem rather is how students themselves are readily available or are readily keen into taking advantage of what is on ground presently, you know, because they find out that from their own perspective that most students are just lazy. They just want to find a shortcut. They don't want to take the extra step, extra miles to do some reading, you know, to make themselves good to, you know, having a broader knowledge of exposure in so many things. But rather than do that, finding time to read, taking advantage of the libraries, even where they give you the little as a guide, that you find most of them wanting, that they turn out not to be rounded hole and round peg and round holes, or how would we use that word? How true? I mean, I don't know. It's open for discuss. Do you share such views as well? Okay,
personally, I actually do agree with what you've said, and I agree to the extent to which I have experienced. For instance, I'm a student of the Faculty of Law, University of Lagos. We have very good lecturers. We have lecturers that are professionals, but only few students actually make use of the professionality and the knowledge and the experience of those lecturers. Other than that, other than the fact that the curriculum itself is quite streamlined and you can't really go outside that, there are so many associations, student bodies. There are, for instance, there are societies. We have the Tax Society, the Tax Club in the University of Lagos. we have the Mooting Society, we have the Maritime Forum, and so many of all these societies. But you still have some students in that same faculty that don't engage in some of these extracurricular activities. And even those that engage in them for very few reasons. Because, for instance, the tax club provides you a very good starting point to acquire a lot of tax knowledge, but only few students are actually interested. Although we can say it is not in the curriculum, but these are associations that the faculty and the university system has allowed to thrive. So it is left for students to actually dig into these opportunities and make use of them.
I suppose such opportunities provided as you speak are embedded in the curriculum would have made a better difference than just making them, individually take a decision to say, maybe I want to willingly, voluntarily take a step to understand this, so let me key into it.
Okay, I think it will actually make a way for some students to actually decide to key into it. But we all know that if in a class of 400 students, even when you're teaching you the criminal law that's in the Constitution, in the curriculum, only a few of them, only some of them are actually going to take an extra step to actually develop themselves. Some of them will just focus on what's in the textbook, how to pass their exam and get their degree. A lot of them.
Does that make a very good student?
No, that does not.
It's a student?
That's a student.
I don't know if you want to react to that.
That does not. But
because the essence of being a student, and when you're in any tertiary education, is to have a wide, broad-based knowledge, cutting across. I'm just thinking in my own thinking.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Cutting across different aspects of the educational, materials that comes your way, that affects life generally, economics, government, literature, religion, just to build yourself as a human resource entity. I don't know.
Yes, it's very true. In the end, it's all up to the student to decide to take charge of his academic life. Decide these are the things I want to learn. This is how far I want to develop myself, and all of that. And of course, we cannot take away the burden, the onus away from the students. But this is also where the institution comes into play. Obviously, the school's aim is to open the door for the student, and then the student that will eventually walk down the path for himself. But this is the role that incentives play. And I've seen this happen several times in universities. So university can actually create competitions around issues that can stimulate conversations and make students even begin to want to apply for these things. Okay, so set up competitions, attach prizes, attach incentives, internship opportunities, mentorship opportunities, not just even only money. You understand, access to particular resources that can help you even know more,
further the
placements. These are things that can actually stimulate students to even want to know more about. For example, I got into debating in school. People were wondering why an engineer was into debating, but then I saw the incentive. The school had this really amazing cash prize, and then you had the chance to join the debate society and represent the school on a national platform. This was just it for me. That was how I got into this thing. So if more of these incentives can be placed around for students, we can actually attract more students to the things that call out to them, and eventually, we'll begin to change the narrative away from students just coming to class just to read, pass, and then go back and forget.
So if it's just to read, pass, and go out there, it means the tertiary education curriculum in Nigeria, in a section, the impact has not done well.
Yeah, I do agree it hasn't done well. And I must be quick to say that we really do have a long way to go. Because it's one thing to actually read, understand, and be able to apply your knowledge to your immediate environment. You find
to what you give in service delivery.
Thank you.
Say you're a doctor or a medical student or a graduate of medicine and you cannot apply that, then what is the essence? I'm just thinking.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. Because after spending 4 years in the university and you spend a year in law school and you're meant to get out of your service, you are not even able to actually write a proper brief of legal argument. That would be very bad. Yeah, I understand that you probably won't have the experience of the top guns in the legal profession and the legal titans. I totally understand that, and I don't expect the curriculum to give you that. However, I expect that the curriculum should actually make sure that by the time you are out of the system, you're not starting from the scratch. It has guided you to a point. So it is right from there, the law firms can then pick you up. That's why you find some law firms that they would rather pick a third-class foreign graduate than pick a second-class lower or second-class upper Nigerian graduates, because they know that over there, they might not know what the job is, but they are equipped for the job. So once you are equipped for the job, by the time you are made to understand what the job is, then you can do it.
When you say equipped for the job, how do we express and understand the word equip. Equip in what sense?
I mean, you are prepared for the job. Okay, so it's one thing for you to be a doctor and for you to be able to perform a surgical operation. But then the moment you are able to perform a surgical operation, but you don't know the operation you're about to perform, when you get to know the operation you're about to perform, you can perform it. So basically, you have students who are, for instance, a lawyer, but you do not know how to tender a legal argument. You don't even know how to drive a charge sheet. You do not know how to sign, how to even date your brief. So basically, those kind of things actually happen to be an issue for them. So if you know how to do these things, all what is left for the law firm or for whoever is employing you is to help you develop your knowledge of how to understand the argument. And obviously, they would have taught you that in school, but then you still need to keep growing with experience and everything. So over time, you can then come up to be a very, very good and beautiful lawyer.
David, what's your own reaction to that? What would be your take?
Well, allow me to bring some optimistic perspective on tertiary education. I mean, obviously, compared to other countries, even in Africa, let's not even go outside Africa. Like Nigerian educational standard has really fallen. It has fallen really low, but tertiary education, they are. I mean, if you look at the problems that face them, I mean, it's not hard for you to understand why they are where they are currently. You get what I mean? So, in as much as they are
citing maybe the cost for what ASU is.
Yes, exactly. I mean, if you don't expect a country that places such a low premium on education to have an educational system that performs or outperforms other countries that place a high premium on education. You know, what you put in is what you get out. And that's just a simple principle at work here. So I'm not going to just quickly go to the end result and begin to point fingers. But then in the end, though, if we can replicate what works, if we can put in funding so we can have incentives to guide students and make sure they are pointed in the right direction, I believe we can design something we'll all be proud of as Nigerians.
So if we have to look at our submission, if we have to candidly, critically evaluate, review, can we say with a submission that the tertiary education curriculum in Nigeria in accessing this impact in society has been positive?
I think
taking a long breath.
Jumping into the conclusion that it is positive would be turning a blind eye to the, like what he said, the premium we've placed on education. So we can't just say it's positive. I think it's actually in the mix. Okay.
What would say in the mix? How do we explain that?
I would personally, my own personal opinion, I think that's more of a negative than positive because we have so many opportunities for greatness that we are yet to tap into. Although I must always also say that we've been able to produce at least as a little spark of greatness that we just have to ignite. So I wouldn't want to say it's positive, but I want to say if with the proper funding and incentive, like he said, there's hope for the future.
Just mentor, what do you say to that before I ask the other one?
I agree with him 100%.
So does it mean we're not there yet?
We are not there yet.
So what can make us be there?
Yeah, so like I said, there has to be a level of free-handedness that the lecturers allow the students, because if you look into it, the curriculum in itself, you know, most of it is made up of things that other people in that institution have actually done. So we have doctorate students that come and they develop theses based on current problems. You know, it is all about just taking this confirmed thesis and then making them into part of the curriculum because these things address current problems. So there's a level of fairness that we need to introduce to the tertiary educational system between the lecturers and the students, because that is the way we allow a curriculum that is able to adapt to the fast-changing economy that we live in as Nigerians. That is key, and that is one. Secondly, the soup that tastes great was built by money, or it was cooked by money. If you want to have an amazing educational system, you need funding. You know, and I'm not just talking about funding from the government, because everybody wants to pour all their problems on the government. You know, if you look at how other people have achieved educational excellence, have done it. They've done this through a system of private partnership. You know, so the school tells the private companies that we have students that are studying this course. We've taught them this, we've taught them that. You guys are into this particular business. We believe our students can provide the solutions. You know, let our students come and work with you. Let us see what you can do. Come over, you know, fund this, fund that. So private partnership, free-handedness, and the incentives. We will get there.
You want to make a contribution?
Yeah, I do agree with him, and I would like to say that the most important part is for us to know that the government has to, before you bring in private partnership, because the private man won't bring his money into a barren business. You have to create an enabling environment. You have to fill in the infrastructural deficit. The billions and billions you are owing you are owing all these institutions. You have to pay them up. You have to fix up the infrastructure. You have to fix our classrooms. You have to fix our labs, our laboratories, our libraries, our ICT facilities. You have to bring them up to date. Then when you bring this up to date, it will give us an opportunity to actually develop. Then it actually make the private sector see the potential in us. Because at the moment, there's so much potential in the university that you only have to dig deep before you can see.
So the issue of government policy is very key at this point to also aid, creating new curriculums, creating new contents for curriculums to make it.
It all affects each other.
Everyone has to do something.
Everybody has to do something.
Everybody has to do something.
The students?
The student, yes.
The institution?
Yes.
The government?
Yes.
And of course the partnership that could keep
the private sector.
Yes. Gentlemen, I want to thank very much, thank you all very much for these contributions of yours. That is Adeluju Luwatufumi Isaac. I say big thank you today.
Thank you, sir.
As always, appreciating you and your positive views and contributions on the program.
Welcome, sir.
Akimade David Ayodeji, well, seeing you for the first time is still, I think, a good signal of what pride we have in the students, the graduates we are turning out today in this country. But then the government must do more to make the difference, to make it positive for us. Thank you, too, for being a guest here today. Thank you for being part of today's edition of the Constitution, as it is what it is. As you see, you can also connect with us on our social media platforms that you see being scrolled on the screen. You can connect with us so that together what views here and there can be synergized to make a presentation for a better country and a better future for the great country of ours called Nigeria. We thank you.
No love is all